this video, I'm going to teach you how to paint a face. This is part of my art journal videos where I choose a subject and colors and a secret ingredient that's all a surprise to me. You can use this tutorial in your art journal if you want, or you can put this on a canvas or any surface that you desire. There is a color mixing video that I give to my Create with Art members that go along with this lesson, as well as an art lesson about how to get the perspective right on your face. You can go ahead and get that lesson if you click at the top right, or in the description below, you become a Create with Art member and get those lessons. The first step is sketching the face, and you're gonna want to just use a very neutral color, watered down. So I'm just using my black and a little bit of blue with it. I'm using my very small detail brush. I put all the brushes that I use in my paintings in the description for you. If you mess up, just right away take your paper towel and put a little water on it and dab up the lines that you want to erase before it sets in, because with acrylics, the paint will set, it'll be permanent when it dries. There are 3 different ways that you can approach painting a portrait. There is from a reference photo, in which I recommend using a grid method, which I explained to my Create with Art members in the art lesson. Also, you can paint from real life, in which I use another grid method, which I share with my Create with Art members in the art lesson to get the perspective correct. And then there's from your imagination, and there are some rules to follow that I share in my art lesson so that the perspective is correct on that too. One of the other things that I provide my Create with Art members is a reference photo, so they can easily use the grid method that I teach them to paint this space along with me. Now that's great for copying, so if you want to copy some things, and then you can also not exactly copy everything, you can take it to whichever direction you go, but at least you have some of the things placed where they need to go. So that's the way that you can approach this. I'm approaching it with my imagination, and so I'm using a couple tools that help me with perspective, and one of them is foreshortening. As you notice when you're looking at my painting, you're seeing that you're not looking at her straight on, you're looking at her as if you're taller than her. So I'm using that technical skill in my drawing. Now that art lesson's gonna help you paint this along with me a lot better, but I'm still gonna give you some clues right here in this video to help you. Now you'll notice the bottom of her nose lines up with the bottom of her ear, and the middle of her ear is gonna line up with the middle of her eyes and the top bridge of her nose. Okay, the lips are centered in between the bottom of her nose and the bottom of her chin. So you can see how you can look at someone or look at yourself in the mirror and see how that usually lines up that way. Now the next thing that you need to understand is that she is looking at an angle. So the middle of her face, there's a vertical line and it's angled, and her nose and her lips are gonna line up on that vertical line, and it's gonna go right in between her eyes. As far as painting this with me, I wanna just point out some things that are gonna help you. Notice I'm using a detailed brush right now. That's gonna help me get in those small details that would be really hard with a thicker brush. I also go to a medium brush at some points just to get some broader, thicker lines. I use that for the hair and such. All right, so what I'm trying to do is decide if I want to have the eyes open or shut. I decided to have the eyes slightly open, so the other one's shut right now, this one's open, and then I can easily make the other one open. When you're painting a face, it's really convenient to have an actual reference so that you can copy the shapes that you're seeing. If you don't have a reference photo, you can look in the mirror and copy some of the shapes that are in your face. It might look different from mine, but it'll be very helpful in trying to get the shapes correct. At this point, I recommend pausing the video so that you can focus on the lines and the shapes that are creating the form of my face. And I want you to concentrate on those lines and shapes in your own artwork so that you can get the proportions correct before you add in the color in the next step. I'm making some important color choices that I'm going to share with you. These choices are to try to make her look like she's a person and not an alien. So I'm using the regular color of lips, so my pink and my dark red. But around the eye, I'm using black. I'm leaving a small dot of white. That's the reflection of the light off of her eyes. So make sure you leave a part of her eye unpainted. And now I'm putting in the dark of her nose. These are the darkest places on her face. Okay. Now, my challenge is going to be trying to get the different values correct and create light with the warm colors, the yellow, orange, and pink, and use the cool colors to create shadow, like the blues. Now I only have one blue color to choose from, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that blue lighter in some places by just adding more water to my brush, and I'm going to make it darker by adding more color to my brush. And I need to have that mid-tone is what it's called, the middle blue, in my shadows because the contrast will be too much in her face if I do not do that. So I'm adding that to that blue right now to where I want some of those shadows to be placed. So you'll see like on her neck, in the back of her neck, and right now I'm just creating just a little bit of form, but it's not complete for sure. Now I'm going to experiment with the warm colors. And I might even go over some of the blue just to figure out where the light's coming from. So right now I have the light coming from the right or straight on, and I might want to change that later on. So I just have to make that decision because where the light and the shadows are going to be an important part of her face. Right now I'm experimenting with the values on her nose. So I had it a little bit too dark. I didn't really like the blue. So the nose is going to be a challenge for me, and I'm fixing the eye as well because the eye was not going the direction that I wanted it to. Notice how easy it was for me to correct those mistakes with just my white paint. So I'm going over some of the red of the lip because I want the light to now shine from the left. So that's what I have decided. And while that dries, because I don't want to muddy my color, you have to let layers dry or they become muddy. They start mixing together and I don't want green. So I'm going to work on the hat for a little bit and add in that warm color on the hat. And notice how it's really starting to brighten it up. It's also helping it to take form. Now I don't have to include every little part of the hat. To make this playful, I'm going to leave part of it missing, and that will help the brain kind of fill in the blanks and make it more interesting to look at. So when you're starting to get a little bit too detailed, if you're not painting realism, you can be playful like that and leave things for the brain to fill in, and that creates interest in your artwork. So right now I'm playing around with shape. I extended her shoulder because it wasn't correctly proportioned. So I'm just trying to get like around her face shaped correct, how thick her neck would be, where her shoulders would be placed, and now I'm working on her lip shape. So I want to get that correct too, to how it'll kind of disappear to that side cheek. And I'm going to make that hat lower because I want it to hide some of her eye, and it'll make it look more mysterious. Like you're not seeing all of her. There's something mysterious behind this hat. And I'm using my dark maroon color for her hair. I might add in some yellow later, but I think I'm mostly going to make that the color of her hair, which would be kind of a natural color of somebody's hair, you know, so it's not too alienish. This isn't meant to be a realistic painting. It's kind of in between abstract and impressionistic painting. You can go really, really far to the abstract side of a painting, or you can go somewhere in the middle and Right now I'm deciding to go in the middle. That's just a personal preference. Notice I'm using my flat brush. This is going to help me create lines that are really, really loose. So that's why I chose that. Now's the step to add your iridescent copper. This is just optional, and it's going to just add some shimmer to my hat and blend it a little bit, and I'm going to add it to my hair as well.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot from seeing my process through this. This is just a short little painting, so I know it's not perfect, but I'm actually happy with it. I'm going to finish it right now, and I hope you enjoyed seeing the process of the creativity that I wanted to show you. You can get the reference photo to help you paint along with me right over here, as well as weekly art lessons and how I mixed these colors. So go ahead and click right here to become a Grateful Art member, and once you do that, you can watch more videos. I will see you in my next video. Bye!